listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
IELTS Speaking Part 3 questions. We're going to look at 4 different types of IELTS Part 3 questions. I'm going to give you a brief strategy for each one, and afterwards we're going to look at 5 different grammar structures that you can use, and I will also share which grammar structure is appropriate for the type of question that you might face. So for example, we could use passive voice for how questions. This tutorial is made by myself, Ben Worthington. I started doing these tutorials a long time ago because, like you, I was a little bit frustrated. I was struggling with the IELTS exam. I had students coming to me and they're saying, how do I write this task 2 essay? I'm so confused. I don't know what to write. My mind goes blank. I get nervous in the exam, and all of these issues. And at first, I was very overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. So I started asking other tutors, other ex-IELTS examiners. I started asking language experts, academic writing experts. And then I started recording the tutorials. I started recording the conversations and releasing them as podcasts. And that's how I got started. And what I did was I tested what worked. I tested it on my own private students. And if I got a lot of success, if I got repeatable success, so I tried it on David, and then I tried it on Pablo, and then I tried it on Maria. If it worked consistently, then I put it in my online courses. That was about 12, 13 years ago. Nowadays, I'm back in England. I left about 20 years ago. Now I'm back in England and I'm still doing these tutorials. Every day we're getting emails from students saying, thank you, I've passed my exam. And they're using the course, they're using the tools that we provide, the frameworks. So if you're struggling with the exam, then go to IELTSpodcast.com. You can sign up, you can get some free courses, free downloads, and you can even use our AI essay checker to get some feedback on your essay so you can improve faster. Right then, let's jump into today's tutorial. 3 very common style of questions for part 3 in the IELTS speaking exam are what questions, why questions, and should questions. Now, all of these types of questions can lend themselves to a certain framework when you answer. Now, having a framework just speeds up your response time. It makes you feel more confident because you know you're answering the question in a complete form. And all of this just makes the exam that little bit easier. Now, I'm not saying that for every what question you have to follow this strategy or this framework. All I'm saying is that having a framework prepared in advance definitely makes it easier. But you still have to listen very carefully to the question to make sure that the framework is appropriate. So, first type, what questions? I'll give you some sample questions. What are the benefits of daily exercise? What impact does social media have on personal relationships? What are the main environmental issues in your country? What role do universities play in modern society? What are the advantages of living in a multicultural society? Relatively straightforward. Now, a very intelligent tutor once told me, he said, Ben, the speaking section, the speaking exam is a listening exam, and the writing exam is a reading exam. What does that mean? Well, in the case of the speaking exam, it means we have to listen extremely carefully to what the examiner is saying. And you might think, oh, I always do that, but you would be surprised the amount of times I'm working with a private student and I ask them a question and they immediately jump in answering the question that they thought they heard, and they don't really get it right. For example, what role do universities play in modern society? Well, universities are amazing because they are a little bit expensive, but they give you better skills and they help you make friends because you're with other colleagues, and they give you qualifications as well. And that answer is okay. It's okay, but really we just totally forgot about the part about modern society. Now, a quick way to make sure that you're always answering the question is just to paraphrase it in your answers, to reflect it in your answer. Not only will this give you a quick and automatic way to get started, but it will also make sure that you are, if you reflect accurately, that you've got all the correct prepositions and articles and structure in your answer, but also you are going to get higher points for task response because you're answering exactly the question that is asked of you. So let's just focus on reflection first. What role do universities play in modern society? Universities play an important role in modern society because what are the advantages of living in a multicultural society? The advantages of living in a multicultural society are, I don't know, lots of Indian restaurants appeared in England since since migration from that country happened in the 1950s in England, whatever. What are the main environmental issues in your country? The main environmental issues in my country are. So the point here is that we take the question structure, we use it in our answer. Now you can do this robotically, like a parrot initially. You can do it like that first, just to get started. And then you can start to elaborate once you've mastered that skill. This is what we focus on in our private classes. So what are the benefits of daily exercise? The benefits of daily exercise are. Now, as we get better, we can start using synonyms. And we can say, well, I guess the good points or the advantages of doing exercise every day would be a higher heart rate, a better feeling, a better mood throughout the rest of the day, and so on and so forth. Okay? So that would be the first strategy, and we can use that for all the types of questions we get. Okay, it's just a matter of mastering that skill. And as a side note, this is a wonderful skill to have for the rest of your life when you're talking with people, because it shows that you are listening to them. We've all had that situation where we're talking to somebody and you can just tell, you can just feel, you can see it in their eyes that they are just waiting for you to finish so that they can talk. And it's quite frustrating and it gets quite tiresome. Whereas if you're a person who is actually intently listening to what your partner, the other person is saying, it just makes that conversation a little bit smoother. And this is definitely the case for the IELTS exam as well. Now, one strategy for these what type of questions could be to start, could focus on giving a general statement and then elaborating with specifics. And a good way to get your specifics out is to use examples. Now, an excellent way of using examples is often to use company names, organization names, country names, like proper nouns. Get them in there because then the listener knows exactly what you are talking about. So I could talk about social media all day, but if I say social media platforms such as Twitter or X as it's now called, and Facebook and TikTok can connect people, but they can often diminish the quality of face-to-face interactions, for example. Okay, so here, let's just do a few sample answers. What are the main environmental issues in your country? I guess you could say the main important or the main environmental issues in my country nowadays would be the lack of water quality. For example, in a recent study, for example, in a village nearby, I heard that the water quality had dropped remarkably because of a new factory that was set up a few years ago. And this is, I guess, one of the main environmental issues in my country, but at a local level. There we go. So I noticed I probably went a little bit too specific there because I was talking about a village with water problems, but then I kind of put in a rescue sentence saying, at the end I was like, in my country, but at a local level. And that's fine. That's fine. Let's do another one. What are the benefits of daily exercise? Well, I guess you could say the advantages of daily exercise would be that you get outside, you get your heart rate up, which has a beneficial impact on your health. You might even get more social interactions throughout the day. And overall, I think it's just recommended. So those are the benefits of daily exercise. So again, it's kind of like a very, very tiny task 2 essay. We start off, we go from general down to specific, and then we wrap it up with just a summary at the end, just to show the examiner that we've finished our answer. Why questions? Why is it important to learn a foreign language? Why should governments invest in public transportation? Why do some students prefer studying abroad? Now, these questions, you have to include a because. Okay, this is going to be like the bedrock, the solid foundation of your answer. So as soon as you hear the word why in your question, you have to be certain to include because. And with this type of answer, you can use a strategy where you are using reasons and justifications. Again, we can go detail, we can go from general to specific, but we definitely want to provide reasons and justifications. I will share some other grammatical structures that help you get these reasons and justifications. So let's just do a sample answer. Why is it important to learn a foreign language? I guess it's important to learn a foreign language because you could say it opens the door to new cultures and new work opportunities. For example, if I learn a language fluently, I could now work in another country in theory without problems. So I would have more job opportunities. So I guess it is quite important to learn a foreign language. There we go. Why do some people prefer online shopping? I guess some people prefer online shopping because it's easier, it could be quicker, and I think as well you get a greater range. For example, if I'm shopping online, I can often see a vast array of products all online, all on the screen, whereas if I was in a shop, the space would be limited to how big the shop is, and that would incidentally impact how many products could be shown. So I guess the reasons why people prefer online shopping is because of the ease and the greater variety. Last one. Why is global warming a critical issue today? I guess global warming is a very important issue today because of all the catastrophic weather events that seem to be happening more frequently. Also, I think if we carry on ignoring these catastrophic issues, these weather issues such as floods and droughts and cyclones, then there would just be an increase in the future. So I guess that's why it's important to focus on these today. There we go. So in each of those why questions, I try to include a conditional structure. And I think why questions lend themselves quite appropriately to a conditional structure, because we're given reasons and we're given justification reasons, but it's also sort of like in a hypothetical sense. So the important thing here is to reflect the question, make sure you include because, and then for your reason, try to give a hypothetical reason. Now, again, I'm not saying that for every why question you have to squeeze in the conditional, but I'm saying it is useful and they do lend themselves it's quite appropriate to put in a conditional there. Now, a side note, when you're dealing with conditionals, just make sure you know the structures inside out. Make sure you know the difference between the first, the second, and the third conditional. And it's worth learning inside out. It's worth learning inside out, back to front, reverse to back, whatever, because you can also use them in your IELTS writing essay to also give examples. This is why they're incredibly useful. Now, should questions. This is another one that lends itself to an kind of like instant framework and an instant opinion. I've talked about this before, so I'll just be quite brief. Sample questions. Should children have restricted access to the internet? Should the government increase taxes on unhealthy foods? Should companies allow employees to work from home? Should renewable energy sources replace fossil fuels? For these ones, what will really help you is if you take a strong position. It's going to help you because you can add some emphasis in there and you can pick up points for your intonation, for your pronunciation. And in fact, using intonation effectively is one of those higher band score criteria in fluency. So, for example, should children have restricted access to the internet? Absolutely, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, children should definitely have restricted access to the internet. This is because without restricted access, they could easily find themselves on YouTube all day. And I think without parental control, YouTube would just show whatever, and this could be quite dangerous for a student, for a child. So definitely restricted and controlled access for children is important when they are accessing the internet. Again, should companies allow employees to work from home? Absolutely, definitely not. This is because when employees are working from home, they can get distracted. They can pretend that they're working. They could also be a security risk for their company. For example, they leave their laptop online and they get their laptop stolen from home. The burglar or the person who steals their computer now has access to the company network, and this could be quite dangerous. So companies should definitely not allow employees to work from home. So I just put that one in just to show you that you don't always have to totally agree with the examiner, But the main takeaway here is that when you hear that should in the question, that is an invitation for you to take a strong stance and then elaborate. So again, like we've done throughout this tutorial, we reflected the question. Sometimes we reflect it word for word. Sometimes we elaborate. Sometimes we add synonyms. But the key is to keep that structure. And then another very valuable sentence when you're working on your preparation is to put "this is because." And then this forces you, just like in the IELTS essay, this forces you to develop the answer and give an example. Let's have a look at some grammar structures that I believe are definitely going to help you to score higher. Used to. Used to is extremely useful for comparison-based questions. Used to is when you're comparing your past habits with states in the present. So, example, how has the use of technology in education changed? I think the use of technology in education has changed a lot, especially since the pandemic. For example, I used to go to my local preparation center to learn Spanish. However, nowadays, I'm just studying from home with a teacher online, and it is far more convenient and I believe far more effective as well. So without technology, this my education pattern or my education curriculum or tutorials would not have changed. So the impact of technology on education has been profound and beneficial. There we go. It's a slightly longer answer. I just wanted to get back to the question. But there you heard the reflection. You heard the comparison. I used to. So again, just like we mentioned with the should questions, when you hear the how and then there's a change in there as well, used to is perfect. For example, classes used to be face-to-face and students had to go to their academic center or institution. However, nowadays, they can just meet their students and tutors online and stay at home and learn from the comfort of their home. Okay? Next one, would like to. Again, this is going to help you with your grammatical range and accuracy. You have to, though, just like the used to, you have to get the pronunciation correct. You have to say would like to. And just like with used to, you have to really emphasize the used to and don't get it mixed up with usually. Used to. If a shortcut is just to add a T on the use. I used to. That's fine. A perfect pronunciation would be used to. But the difference between used to and used to is so small that I doubt you're going to get picked up on it. So don't worry about it. Anyway, back to would like to. When we get a question such as, what kind of job would you like to have in the future? We've even got it in the question there. We can answer such as, I guess the kind of job I would like to have in the future would be working with renewable energy because I'm kind of passionate about addressing climate change. So I would like to. Another sample question could be, do you think the job market is changing in your country? Yes, definitely. The job market is definitely changing a lot in my country. For example, in the past, I used to search for jobs by asking my own network and asking friends and family. However, nowadays, I search online for job opportunities. I think in the future, I'd like to just restrict all my job searching to online activities because it's far more efficient and effective for me. There we go. So you don't even have to hear would like in the question. You can hear another sample question might be, how do you think technology will change in the future? I think technology is going to change a lot in the future and probably for the better. In fact, I'd like to see it change in a way that would be more beneficial for the people. I think also it's going to change by incorporating more AI technology in everyday tasks. So I I think that's how technology will change in the future. You see, it just takes a little bit of practice and, a routine. When you're practicing this, use a routine where you're trying to squeeze in, would like to, for the questions that can invite themselves for a future-based situation. Another technique for effective preparation is to find some recent cue cards and recent Part 3 questions and write out your answers. This will just help you become familiar with a question that could appear on your exam, and then this way you're not caught cold. You've already thought about it a week before, a couple of days before, so you've got the vocabulary you need. You've discovered the weak spots while you were writing out your answers. Next one, this is one of my favorites. I mentioned it before, conditional sentences. I did a whole tutorial on this and I went into it in more detail, but you can use conditional sentences for why questions. For example, why would technology improve your city? Well, I guess technology would improve my country because if the government invested more, they could probably if the government invested more in traffic technologies, for example, I think they could definitely reduce traffic congestion. Also, if they invested more in education, I think this would definitely improve the results of the students and probably lead to a better society. So there we go. And we can also circle back to the question, the initial question, and summarize it and close, and kind of like a summary or a conclusion like we do in the essay. So when we're using conditionals, again, as I said before, just make sure that you've got conditionals fully under control and you can speak in conditional sentences in your dream. When you're dreaming at night, that's the level that you want to be using them at. Otherwise, it can come out very wrong and you could end up losing points. Final one, passive voice. Passive voice is definitely useful for how questions. Now, we can use these to focus on the action or the object of the action rather than the subject. For example, how are decisions made in your country's government? I guess decisions are usually made in my country after extensive discussions in Parliament, and these discussions are probably influenced by public opinion as well. So I guess there's two factors when it comes to making decisions in my country's government. There we go. So again, you would automatically pick up points for the passive voice if you had mastered the skill of reflection. How are decisions made in your country? Decisions are usually made in my country after extensive discussions in Parliament and public debate. There we go. That's going to help you with your grammatical range and accuracy. Now, if you think learning the skill of reflection inside out is useful, then we go into this in more detail in our Speaking Confidence course. We have some drills there, and it's also a very strong component of my private classes. At the moment, there are some spaces available. You can go to ieltspodcast.com/intensive, or you can sign up to the email list where you get a ton of PDFs and resources and material to help you pass faster. You also get tutorials on how to use the online essay checker to improve your score and to get a better IELTS score. And also, you'll get updates about when there are free spots in the private class schedule. So that's it. Just one last thing before we wrap up this tutorial. I don't charge for these tutorials. I give them away completely free. So if you found it was valuable, all I ask in return is that you share it with your friends, that you forward it to somebody who you think would benefit from it. And this way we can help more people overcome their IELTS exam, move forward, get to Australia, get to Canada, get to the UK, and ultimately change the course of their life for the better. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. So keep moving, keep studying. You will get there in the end. You're only going to fail if you stop trying. So just keep moving. You've got this. You can do it. Have a beautiful day and good luck with your IELTS preparation.
Thanks for listening to IELTSpodcast.com.